Eva, your organization does a lot of moving people from point A to B. I'd like to hear your perspective.
First of all, thank you for having me and giving me opportunity to talk a little about BVG and how we look at Ross's opinion as well. The conference has the title The New Unknown, Navigating Zeitenwende. For us as a public transportation company, we're also sort of in the new unknown. We're part of a very disruptive force at the moment with which we as a transportation company or the business in general isn't quite up to yet. What do I mean by that? We had a very huge experiment in the last couple of months in Germany where we had a ticket for a month for €9 for all public transportation in Germany. So you could buy a ticket, €9 for 1 month, and it was a free ride in a way. And this encountered a group of people who have been sort of in a very secluded field. No one really bothered about how public transportation, especially urban public transportation, works. So now we have all those disruptive forces on us, and we found out that people actually like going with public transportation when it's there, which is the main conclusion of what we have seen, because even if whatever Ross is telling us about the urban space, usually transportation or vehicle usage starts somewhere completely different. Starts in the suburbs, it starts in the rural places, and there, of course, we have a whole lot of people going in cars. So they also bought €9 tickets and said, great stuff, but we can't use it. There's nothing there. So that really is the disruption. If we want to go to a place where Ross wants to go, changing individual car ownership to shared mobility in any way or pooled mobility in any way, we're going to have to enable quite a lot on a digital field to actually get there. So that is one of the most disruptive things which has happened to us in Germany. All the other things, of course, are around us. Energy crisis is one. The war against Ukraine is another one. Then all sorts of demographic issues, because we are still an aging country, and we are now looking for drivers, for example, all over the place. We would take anyone here in the room who wants to be a bus driver or a tram driver. You are hardly welcome. You really are. And because that's one of the biggest risks we have if we want to really go into the sharing world and the public transportation world and reducing ridership with motor cars, increasing trains, whatever. We will need people, even if the ultimate goal might be autonomous driving, but there's still a time in between, and we all don't know how long this time in between will be. Those are the really the new unknowns in an industry, as you might imagine, which is really long term. We have long term investment processes. If you want to build a new railway, and that it's going to be there for 50 or 100 years, you don't do this like that. It's not one of those wonderful Silicon Valley startup things where you say, okay, let's do it, let's break it, and see what we can do tomorrow. This is not what we do. We plan and we look and we build, and then we build trains, and next week we have InnoTrans, and you can take a look at all those trains, and it's going to take a while. So in this long-term business and in this long-term planning, we are now in a complete new unknown for us because we have to be really, really fast in reacting to political influence and also the way people actually want to experience public transportation. They want it to be intermodal, they want it to be seamless, they want it to be easy, they want it to be currency free. You know, you just take your smartphone and wherever you are, you know exactly that you get the best price. And our answer at the moment as a provider is you better learn your tariffs by heart so you know that you actually have the right ticket. So that can't be the way people would want to experience public transportation. And this is not only here, this is really basically all over the place. And there are other public transportations or public transportation authorities which might be a little bit further along, but still, the main idea of how to get access to public transportation is you buy a ticket. You buy it at the driver or you buy it somewhere else, but you always buy a ticket and you never know whether it's the right price or not. So from our real challenges in the future, we have the demographic part, we have the digital part, and of course we have the diversity part as well, since we are looking at a very, very homogeneous group of people who are working within the public transportation industry. And you said everyone wants to go from A to B. I don't believe that. It's just one of those myths. You know, you have people who combine journeys, or you have people who are once there and then the next time maybe in 3 months, but then again a lot. You have people who might be handicapped or disabled who don't do A to B, who do all sorts of different journeys, because that is the only way they get really to their destinations and be able to participate in mobility in general. So we have to look at our networks as well in a completely different way of really seeing where do the people actually go and what are their routes of travel. So one of the good news we have is yesterday we opened up an on-demand service in the outer ring of Berlin. You know, in Berlin we have this S-Bahn ring, and within this S-Bahn ring the world is beautiful. Everyone's intermodal. You have all the different public transportation stuff. It's a 15-minute city. You know, it's paradise. Everyone comes to paradise. And then you go outside of the S-Bahn ring, and that's where the normal people live, and they don't have that much access to public transportation, because of course you have 10-minute buses, but sometimes you also have 20-minute tacting buses, and for that you might need something else. So we have an on-demand and pooling system in place now, and that will give us a lot of insight actually through data on what the people actually want and need, what travels they actually do, where are the hotspots within smaller communities, and where have we not seen potential lines, and we will get this through data and through digitalization. So there's hope out there, and that's the way forward for us, that we really start to combine all those different aspects of what Ross also told us, that we have connected mobility, that we have different sizes of the cars and trains we actually provide. We have shared Of course, we go electric, but for us, then ultimately, if we really do all this well, we will also have the possibility of doing this autonomously through shuttles, etc., and then going from the rural places, from the suburban places to the metropolis and back again with all those different modes. Thank you.
Thank you both. I can see that we're really bursting at the seams here. There's a lot of interest in this conversation. I'll just ask you each one question that I had. Ross, how do you respond to the point that Eva made, that the idea of shared mobility maybe works within the city setting, and that the 15-minute city might work for those who live within the ring here in Berlin, but perhaps doesn't for those who live without?
So I live in Paris within the Périphérique, which is the same as the ring, and obviously most cities have a ring where those who live inside can experience a 15-minute city. The problem with living inside is that the rental prices, property prices are much higher, obviously, and properties are smaller. So generally, the 15-minute city works well enough for those that can afford to live within that, 15 minutes ring. The big challenge is obviously moving people from far out in, because that's where the opportunities are in the city. Nobody finds an interesting, or not, it's more easy to find an interesting job in the city center, because obviously the more interesting businesses are there. So, you start getting a kind of mobility apartheid happening in many cities, where those that live close to the opportunities have better opportunities. What was really interesting for me was that when you look at Lagos, the new cities that have to be built in the world are in Africa, because Africa is growing and it's urbanizing. And if those cities are built with a car understanding and not a mass transit understanding, young people will not physically be able to get to business opportunities and be able to get to work. And that's a huge problem. Obviously, Europe is a fairly stable population. It's obviously a massively sophisticated infrastructure. The problems you have are insignificant compared to a city like Lagos, which has 12 to 15 times the population of Berlin. So these problems are huge. And I agree with Eva, absolutely. You have to find solutions of bringing people quickly from the less opportune places to the city center where the action is.
Okay, and if just a question for you, it's not often that you get the opportunity, rather, to have an experiment like the one you did with the €9 ticket. What would you say is the biggest learning from it, and where do things go from here?
For us, it really was an extreme experiment. We were quite lucky. We have a very, very good network, and we have people who actually used it more for leisure travel, for surplus travel, for going places, and also we saw families going together to the zoo, for example, which they might not have done before, because actually getting there and buying the tickets would have been very expensive. But one of the two has fallen away, so they got to see different things. We saw families, visiting castles, which they usually might also not do. So that was really, it was a social experiment, and that worked great. And it was summer, so it worked even better. But from the point of view, do we really get commuters to then go into the public transportation system? We didn't see that much, and that would have been the part which we would have loved to see. So, and that's really because there where the traffic starts doesn't have enough public transportation offers, so they really didn't react in the way we would have wanted. So those are the two big learnings. And the third maybe is make it simple.
Transparent ticket pricing.
Yeah, easy, simple, for everyone.